Welcome back to the Ferris Sports Update. I'm your host, standing in for Rob Bentley today, Harrison Watt. In the Ferris Sports Update, we're talking Bulldog track and field as well as Ferris State tennis. But first, joined by the coordinator for athletic performance, Bulldog Hockey assistant coach Dave Cencer as well. Dave, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Harrison. Happy to be here.
Little weird, obviously a few weeks out from the end of our hockey season. First round of the NCAA tournament going on right now, but you guys are already focused on next year in the weight room, a little bit more time you can have with the guys on the ice right now. What's really going on with the program right now?
Sure, that's a great question, but the way we ended this season was on such a positive, and we have so much really strong momentum going into next year that we gave the guys the time off that we're required to by the NCAA at the end of the season. And then Division I rules are a little different than Division II in that we can get started after a week. And then basically we have a nice 5-week period here where we're allowed to do 8 hours a week, and we're taking advantage of all of that. We're in the weight room multiple days. We're beginning just a little bit of off-ice conditioning, kind of getting guys back into the feel of that. Then we're doing some on-ice skill work, which again is another Division I rule that's kind of changed over the last couple of years. So it's really, really very positive. We have, we're very limited with the time we're on the ice, but when we are, it's just straight skill stuff, which the guys really enjoy. And you can see that at times that stuff gets a little put on the back burner, especially down the stretch of a season when you're so focused on your opponent and making a playoff run that it's really X's and O's. So it's nice to get back into that skill type atmosphere. Coach Famulak's running those skates. He's doing a tremendous job. Then for me to be back in the weight room with the players is a lot of fun. And we have a lot of guys. We always say that the summer after your freshman year is the biggest summer in terms of making gains off the ice. And we had such a stellar freshman class this year that seeing those guys jump in with an attitude and be hungry for improvement and hungry to build on the performance that they put out this year is fun already just a few days into it. So we're looking forward to the spring with those guys and the summer with those guys as well.
Take a look back a little bit this past year, and you went plus 11 wins at the end of last season. Basically plus 7 more this year if you include the shootout wins within that. So you finished basically 500 this year. Fought for home ice into the last weekend as you take a look back at the highlights from the past season. A lot of big steps forward. Where do you think the biggest step forward was in your team's game overall this year?
I thought it was our, believe it or not, it was kind of our calmness and our experience in tough situations in that we've been there before. If you look back to 2 years ago, we found a way to be, we were competitive in that we found our way to be in a lot of games. We had a lead against Michigan State late at home. We had leads against Western at home late. We had a lot of those games where we really put our best foot forward, but when it came time, when it really that hit the critical moment late, we found a way to lose those games rather than find a way to win those. And we flipped the script this year on those. Like you look at the game that we lost at home against Michigan State a year ago. I believe that game was like 4-3. Then you look at the game that we won at the GLI this year down in Grand Rapids in a tremendous atmosphere, with 8,000 people there. We found a way to win that game in the end, a tight 2-1 game. And there were a lot of those this year that were 1-goal games, overtime games in the playoffs, where in the past, we just didn't have the composure in those critical moments. And this year we found a way through our experience and through the skill, and we found a way to learn how to win. And I think that that's going to be imperative, looking ahead to next year. The sky's the limit. It really, really is. And with the group we have coming back and that experience of being in those situations this year and coming out with positive results, especially, in the playoff sweep at Bowling Green, those are things that we can really build on for next year.
Speaking of guys coming back, your co-captain is already committed to coming back, and Brendan McLaren, and looks like more good goaltending on the way back. That was a big strength of the team this year. As you start to take a look at that group that returns, an impressive cast of freshmen. This is a team that really starts to get very deep as you look up and down the lineup.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And you're right on having Brendan McLaren, who was a co-captain, along with Matt Slick. He'll be back. He'll be back for a 5th year next year, so he'll kind of anchor the blue line, and we return almost everybody back there. Up front, I believe when we talked about this as a staff the other day, I think in terms of returning scoring, we're second in the conference, and we haven't been in that position in a long time. So up front, Bradley Merrick, Jason Branchow, Connor McGrath, Tyler Schleppe, those guys, they'll all be back, and it's a tremendous group to build on. And then in goals, where it all starts, anyone that even just casually watches hockey knows the importance of that position. And Noah Giesbrecht really locked it down the stretch, and he played outstanding hockey for us, and he'll be back again next year. and he's a legitimate pro prospect. So for us, we really the strength of our team starts in net and builds out from there for sure.
So you take a look at areas you want to try and improve. That's another thing. You had a really impressive freshman group, but obviously parts of their game you want to see get better, and special teams as well, an area where you guys could potentially improve. What are some of the things you guys are really focused on here in the offseason?
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I think a lot of that's going to come through some of those young kids that we relied on so much gaining some strength. And they had, you look at some of those guys, some of those freshmen that really did put up good numbers for us and were playing critical roles, but you can only ask a first-year player coming out of junior hockey to do so much. It's such a long season. We start playing games the first weekend of October, and they're still, the Frozen Four is still 2 weeks away. So to make a run, you have to play a lot of hockey over a long period of time. So we need those guys to gain strength, and that'll help them to not just you talk about special teams, the power play in particular. You start to see some of those young kids gain strength. It'll help them to they were in those situations last year where we were getting great chances. Now it'll allow them to go, maybe not be moved in front of the net and bang that puck home, And so we go from finding ourselves in good spots to finding ourselves in good spots and scoring once we get to those spots. So for us right now, the focus is purely on getting those guys stronger. And that's the fun part, because that's something that, if the kids are committed, and they are, you can totally control. We can do that. We can help kids get stronger. If they put the work in, and so far, they've shown the willingness to do that.
Probably did the hardest thing that a hockey team has to do. You want a playoff series, best 2 out of 3, and you get into those one games. Sometimes you get a lucky day, you get a team that doesn't play very well, and you can win those games. Not that that's easy, but to win a best 2 out of 3, that's a really big step for this program too.
It sure is. It sure is, and it's the hardest part in college hockey is to you're not just playing a team to end their season, but it's a best 2 out of 3, and especially if you're on the, whether you're at home or on the road, but if you're on the road like we were in a real hostile, fun environment to play in, like Bowling Green, it's a lot of fun, but it's not easy. And we swept them there at the end of the regular season and swept them there in the playoffs as well. So, I think that's something that we can definitely build on for sure. And just the experience of being in those situations where we face adversity both nights, where we swept them, and that's a positive, but both nights we had a 1-goal lead late. They pulled the goalie. They're a tremendously offensively talented team. They were able to tie it late, but then we showed the resilience we needed. We had fantastic leadership, and we went out and won in overtime both nights. So, I think that those are things, all lessons learned that we can carry on to next year. And then, when we find ourselves in those one-game shots, as we have in the past, we can find a way to win those as well, because truthfully we weren't far off against Minnesota State either. So it's a situation where as we continue to get stronger, for the first time in a long time, the core of our team now next year will go from being a super young group to more of an experienced group, and we haven't been in that position since before the COVID years. So there's a lot of positives and excitement looking forward for sure.
Looking forward to October already, and what we expect to be a really big step forward again for Bulldog Hockey.
Thanks, Harrison.
When we come back, we are talking more Bulldog athletics next on the Ferris Sports Update.